When I was blowing out the candles at the birthday party, my boyfriend of 4 years, John Smith, was dancing closely with his childhood friend, Emily Johnson. People around were watching me with amusement. I quickly opened a bottle of champagne and said, "Shouldn't they kiss with the atmosphere like this?" John's face darkened immediately, and a brown, "Can't you see we're just playing a game? Don't you know what jokes are appropriate and what aren't?" At this point, Emily walked over and said, "John and I are just friends. We've danced like this before, everyone here knows it. Besides, if I wanted to be with John, it would have happened long ago. There's no place for you, Anna." They righteously criticized me as if I had done something unforgivable. Strangely, my heart only hurt for a moment and then it didn't hurt that much. When I got home by taxi, John was already there looking very displeased. "Anna, did you have to embarrass me?" "Was it me who embarrassed you?" I asked back, not interested in arguing with him. He saw my look and was very annoyed, but he suppressed and said to me, "There's really nothing between Ellie and me. If we wanted to be together, it would have happened long ago. Are you really making a fuss over this?" I turned to look at him. "I've already said, I really don't care. It's you guys who are obsessed." "John, I'm very tired. I worked a day without eating a bite, and now I just want to sleep. Can you be quiet for a while?" He asked. "I went with Emily today. Don't you have anything to say about that?" "I think it's great. You saved face and secured your deal." I shrugged. John looked at me and suddenly laughed. "Minna, you better stay this stuff. I'm going out for dinner with her tonight." "Satisfied?" "Good, come back early." I was too tired to argue further. John stared at me, then stormed out, slamming the door. That night, while preparing documents for my client, I saw another update from Emily on Instagram. "I'm always there for you when you need me." I was so angry I couldn't focus on the proposal. But I still finished the client's documents promptly. I remembered the old me, whose heart was full of John, worried about him not eating well, preparing his lunch in advance, thinking about what delicious food to make for dinner the next day. He had a sensitive stomach, so I had to keep his medicine ready and also prepare hangover soup. He loved drinking and socializing, enjoying everything I had prepared for him in his life, but there was always another presence in his life, Emily. There was an empty position in his group. At that time, my company was in a slump and I told him I wanted to try for it. He outright rejected me, saying the position wasn't suitable for me because of my low qualifications and that I wouldn't get through the interview. But soon, he gave that position to Emily. I had a big fight with him then. He said, "Isn't my support enough for you? Emily is an independent woman, she needs this job more." See, that's the charm of Emily. I could never compete with her in anything. Afterward, she came to me and said, "John told me your skills aren't suitable for this job. This job was always meant for me. You're so lucky. I really envy you. You can spend John's money. I'm different. I have to earn everything by myself. It's exhausting." I remember John looking at her with admiration that day and saying, "I want to take care of you too, but you're too independent." Thinking of this, I deleted Emily from my contacts. Before, I was afraid John would cheat, so I added Emily on social media. But the days of obsessing over their photos, wondering if they were sleeping together or hanging out together again, it was exhausting. Sure enough, after deleting her, the world felt much calmer. That night, John didn't come back. I turned off my phone and stopped paying attention. The next day, I took a last-minute project and went on a business trip to Riverton. That night, John called me and, "Where did you go? Why aren't you back yet?" "I'm very busy working," I said and hung up the phone. I stayed in Riverton for 3 days. On the third night, I saw John at the hotel entrance. He looked a bit haggard. As soon as he saw me, he immediately came over and grabbed me. "Anna, are you avoiding me?" "John, I'm very busy." "I'm working, okay? I'm not avoiding you, I'm just on a business trip." I was really at a loss dealing with such an entangled John. Seeing him like this, I suddenly thought of my past self. Maybe in John's eyes, I looked the same back then. Work was exhausting and I had no time to deal with him, but he was relentless. I sat on the bed and asked him, "What kind of reaction do you want from me for you to think it's right? Throwing a tantrum, yelling questions, suspecting your relationship with Emily?" John was stunned by my questions, but I had no time to waste on him. "Do you feel helpless?" "So do I. I just want to work well." When there was a job shift, I had the most available time, so I took on this project. "What's the problem?" "But you weren't like this before. I thought you left because I didn't come back that night." "I wasn't with Emily, I slept at my friend's place." "Really?" John confessed, which I didn't expect, but it didn't matter anymore. I told him, "I believe you." "Then what? If nothing else, I'd like to take a shower. I walked a lot today, and I'm tired." He couldn't refuse, and I didn't continue to entangle with him. While showering, I thought about something from before. It was also about John not coming home. He really hated telling me where he was, he wouldn't tell me his whereabouts. It was when Emily returned from her studies, and John and his friends gave her a welcome back party secretly. That night, John didn't come back, and I was worried he drank too much at the gathering and might have a stomach problem. I searched from his office to the bar where they last migrated. I looked for him bar by bar. During the search, someone tried to drag me into a nearby staircase, and I cried in fear, but I was more worried about John. Until I saw John and Emily holding hands in a bar not far away, I felt like a huge joke. That night, a heavy rainstorm hit. Emily hit John holding an umbrella for her, while I, just across the street, became a truly homeless drenched rat. The next day, John came back and saw my messy self sitting on the sofa. He was startled. He looked at me and asked, "You look like a madwoman. Who are you trying to scare?" I went up and slapped him twice. I asked him, "Did you think of the person at home who couldn't find you while you were with Emily?" John saw my hysterical look and pushed me to the ground. "Anna, you're insane. You have mental issues. I'm afraid you might kill me one day. You're really sick now." Indeed, I felt sick. As long as he was with Emily, I thought they were making love. Thinking about it now, I was really stuck in a dead end. Stripped of the color of love, he looked completely ordinary. John stubbornly stayed with me all day and then went home with me. When I got home, there were already people there, John's friends and Emily. They had made a table full of dishes, obviously under John's direction, but it made me feel slightly nauseous. Emily saw me and said, "John just went to a friend's house that day, and you had to make a fuss and go on a business trip. How do you expect him to feel at ease with you like this?" She had a scolding tone, and the others around her seemed to agree. John, on the other hand, looked at me expectantly. No one thought there was anything wrong with Emily speaking to me this way. In the past, I would have considered John's feelings and would only argue with him later. Today, though, I'd had enough. I asked her, "What position are you in to speak to me like this? First, you know he has a girlfriend, yet you don't avoid suspicion. You have no sense of boundaries and act all preachy. Second, John is not so important that I need to flee to another city to avoid him. And lastly, this is my home. If you're going to stay, then behave, or get out." For years, I've tolerated your holier-than-thou attitude, always seeking validation from someone else's boyfriend. Do you really think it makes you superior? Emily didn't expect me to lash out suddenly. In fact, no one did. They were all stunned into silence. I dumped the fish they had cooked into the trash. I'm allergic to seafood. The smell of fish makes me nauseous. Then, I looked at John and said, "If you cared about me even a little, you'd know how much I despise the smell of fish. But all you see is how much Emily likes it." John shut his open mouth. I knew he was used to siding with Emily against me, but when I confronted him, he began to feel guilty and ashamed. I looked at him calmly. "John, let's break up." "Anna, what are you talking about?" John suddenly walked over and hugged me. He even smiled, his tone almost tender, a treatment I hadn't received in years. "I know I've neglected you, but I'm really trying to change. I was actually planning to propose to you today. I bought the ring, the one you liked. You always wanted our own wedding. I couldn't afford it then, but now I've got everything ready, even the wedding dress. Let's go see it together in a few days, okay?"